Okay, good morning, beautiful people out there, and welcome to another episode of Intensive Feminine Health. I am your hostess, as usual, Dr. Mrs. Jennifer Odeku Braimah. Today we'll be looking at something quite pertinent. It is of grave concern to Nigerians, to members of the international community, and indeed to the whole world. What are we talking about? Sexual and gender-based violence. What did I say? Sexual and gender-based violence. We're running a bit, behind schedule today, so you permit me to take a sip of my lovely coffee here. That is beautiful. Okay. I said we're looking at gender-based violence, but not just gender-based violence, we're looking at sexual and gender-based violence. When a lot of people hear about this topic, they think about sex or rape. It's not all about rape or sex, unwanted sex, which is rape. And do you know, let me throw this question out there, do you know that a man can rape his wife? I'll ask it again. Do you know that a man can rape his wife? The answer is yes. As long as the woman said, please, not tonight, and he goes ahead and forcefully takes what he wants, then it is rape. The onus is on that woman to report him to the police or to the immediate family members or to the church or to the mosque and let them handle the case. But as long as a woman says, no, I do not want to be in a sexual relationship with you or to have sex with you at this point, and you go ahead and do it anyway, that is rape. And that is part of the sexual-based violence, of the sexual and gender-based violence that we're going to look at today. It might interest you to know that 1 out of every 3 young girl and woman will experience one form of violence or the other in her lifetime. Be it a little girl who is being naughty unknowingly and is given a smack, be it an 18-year-old girl who is raped.
Feel the pulse of the economy. Understand issues that plague the Nigerian economy. Join in the massive transformation happening in the Nigerian capital market. Be financial literate as I bring to you key players, the movers and shakers of the Nigerian economy. Flow with the narratives of how regulations and enforcement, corporate governance, innovative technology, investors' confidence, and market institutions affect the economy. Be the first to feel the pulse of the market on Mondays and Fridays, 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. with Gabriel Nisi.
We had a little break right there. Okay, we're talking about different aspects of sexual and gender-based violence. And we're talking about a little child between 2 and 10 who is being a bit unruly and is given a smack. That is physical violence. We're talking about a 9 to 15-year-old girl who is forcefully given off to marriage. That is gender-based violence. We're talking about physical and domestic assault in a marital setting or in a relationship. That is physical violence. Like I said earlier, 1 out of 3 young girl or woman will experience one form of sexual and gender-based violence in her lifetime. An appalling statistics, but it's a fact. Sexual and gender-based violence is rife in the world, especially in Asia, in sub-Saharan Africa, where Nigeria falls under, and in the Caribbean, with the onset of the insurgency of Boko Haram. Sexual and gender-based violence is at its peak right now in the world. Take example, the Chibok girls that were abducted, 200 plus of them, 2-3 years ago. They haven't been found. 3 of them have been returned. The rest of them are still AWOL, and they are praying and hoping that they'll find them. They were forcefully given off to men that they do not know as wives. That is gender-based violence. They were able to do that because they are women. And you know what we talk about when we talk about women? We have to have gender equality. That is one of the SDGs. Between now and 2030, gender equality must be achieved. So if men think it is their duty to go ahead or go around smacking girls, raping girls, and generally disregarding them, that is a violation of our human rights. And that is all about sexual and gender-based violence that we're talking about today. Recently, as recent as Wednesday, yesterday, the United Nations and the EU, European Union, came together to form or to launch what they call the Spotlight Initiative. And already 500 million euros has been put on ground to fund that project or that initiative. And what is the initiative all about? It is all about bringing an end eradicating, abolishing sexual and gender-based violence by 2030. They are focusing on Asia, Africa, and its Caribbean because these are the countries that these atrocities are being perpetrated. What are the examples of sexual and gender-based violence that we have out there? 1, early marriage, forceful marriage. Young girls between the ages of 9 to 15 given off, as marriage, materials or as brides when they should be in school, learning a skill, bettering their lives and thinking of their future. They are forcefully given off in marriage as a result of poverty or some kind of being owed a debt by a big rich man. So he picks up one of the young girls and puts her in slavery, sexual slavery. What are the other examples? You have physical assault, a husband battering his wife. I have a recent example of a beautiful young girl, well educated in Nigeria and the United States in London. She was turned into a punching bag by her husband. And it may behoove you to know that this young woman just gave birth through cesarean section. Her baby is less than 2 months old. And by one provocation or the other, her husband beat her blue, black, and green, so much so that she could not go to work. It was a timely intervention of a neighbor that spared her life. What could have provoked a man so much that he beat his wife, a marriage that is less than 18 months old, a nursing mother nursing a less than 2-year-old baby, who had that baby through cesarean section? What is the provocation? What is the frustration? And ladies out there, let me let you know that no matter the beating you receive, no matter the hell a man puts you through, no matter the consequence of rape, whether you end up not being able to have kids or not being able to walk, know that any form of sexual or gender-based violence is not your fault. It is never the fault of the victim. Rather, it is the fault of the perpetrators. What did I say? It is never the fault of the victim. Rather, it is the fault of the perpetrators. And people out there who shame victims, who shame survivors, should stop it right now because it is not their fault. A young girl who is raped by 24 men, how is it her fault that she is raped? Whether she is fully clad, half clad, whatever. What is the impetus? What is your right, you young men out there, to rape a young girl minding her business and walking her way? What right do you have? The other type of sexual and gender-based violence that we have is the human trafficking for sexual purposes, for economic exploitation. Young girls are exploited every day. They are trafficked from Nigeria, especially from Edo State, from Asia, from Europe, Ukraine, Poland, trafficked to different parts of the world for economic gains. These women are abducted, they are beaten, they are drugged, they are turned into sexual slaves to do the bidding of every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Can you imagine a scenario, true picture, true story, where a young girl has to sleep with an average of 200 men a day? Wrap your mind around that. 200 men a day. This is what the United Nations and the European Union are fighting very hard to stop. Women should not be seen as sexual toys for the pleasure of men and then discarded when their use is done. What other forms of sexual-based violence do we have? Domestic violence in the house, like I just mentioned just now. Domestic violence. And it's not just domestic violence that constitutes gender-based violence. You have verbal violence. You have emotional violence. Verbal assault, emotional assault, mental assault, all of them constitute sexual and gender-based violence. It might also interest you to know that sexual and gender-based violence is also used as a weapon of war. In Syria, in Yemen, in Nigeria, a weapon of war. You go into a village, rape the girls, abduct them, kill them. What is that? Sexual and gender-based violence. By the time you do that, the men in the community will surrender to the invading marauders. Surrender to whatever it is they want, and they end up killing the men as well. This must stop. Like I just mentioned earlier, the UN and the EU have come together yesterday to launch the Spotlight Initiative. And they have already put 50 million euros or 500 million euros on ground to begin to go into Africa, Asia, the Caribbean to stop this menace. And I am so glad that this effort is being done. It may also interest you to know that the fight against sexual and gender-based violence is not only at the international level. Different organizations right here in Nigeria are doing the same. The UN Women based here in Nigeria, CEDAW, lawyers, and all of that. But most of the problem that we have is underreporting of sexual-based violence. The estimate or the statistic of 1 in every 3 women being violated is an underestimation. It is more than that. It may even be 1 in 1. I, that I'm sitting here, I'm a survivor of physical violence. It may surprise you to know that. Look at me. I am hale and hearty. I have said no, I am not a victim, but a survivor. And I'm here to show you that, or to tell you that, as an empowered woman, I am here to give you hope that no matter the situation you're going through, stand up and fight for your rights. And how do you fight for your rights? You fight for your right by first being financially independent. When you show your husband, your spouse, your boyfriend, your father, your uncle, your grandfather, whoever is meting out that sexual and gender-based violence onto you, that you are a woman not to be trifled with, they will back down, because at the core of them, they are all cowards. All ravaging cowards, looking for less, women who are, lowly to prey on. So if you say, no, I will not be a victim but a survivor, then they will back off. And it is your onus now, or the onus is now on you, a survivor, to champion the cause of other women who cannot help themselves. Make sure that when they are sexually or physically assaulted, they report the case to the police, report to family members, report to church leaders, report to mosque leaders, to tell them that this husband, this boyfriend, this father, this grandfather has been sexually molesting you or physically assaulting you for so and so a time. Do not be quiet, because it is the silence that allows the men to continue to perpetrate these atrocities and go unpunished. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll tell you some more ways forward on how sexual and gender-based violence can be eradicated by the year 2030. See you in a minute.
On Facebook, like our page and share our posts at People's TV NG. On Twitter, follow us at PTV_NG. Follow us on Instagram at PTVNG. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel, People's TV. Visit our website, www.ptvng.com. Subscribe now and join the conversation online. People's TV, preferred people station. On Facebook, like our page and share our posts at People's TV.
Welcome back. I am not being critical of the men or harsh. Not every man is a sexual predator or a wife batterer or a spouse batterer. No. We are just telling you that there are men out there who should be taught the right things, who should be punished when they misbehave. Men, you have no rights, no legal rights, no God-given right whatsoever to rape your wife or to physically batter your wife. Fathers, grandfathers, uncles, you have no right whatsoever to lay your filthy hands on your wife or your children, especially the females. You have no right. And it may interest you to know that all of this sexual and gender-based violence that we're talking about is not perpetrated by strangers. These actions, these atrocities are perpetrated by people that you know and you love and you trust. Pedophiles, men who rape girls and boys, are fathers, uncles, brothers, cousins, nephews, people that live with you in the same house that you trust, that you entrust your children to and go to work. You go and come back and your child is walking in a funny way. Mommy, something happened. What happened? Uncle or daddy or cousin did something to me. This is the situation we found ourselves in Nigeria. Every day, there's one story of rape or atrocity or the other. It has to stop. It has to stop. Intimate partner violence, it has to stop. A man who is a lover, who is a husband, who is a grandfather, suddenly turns on the woman. For what? Is it the woman's fault that you're frustrated, you don't have a job? Is it the woman's fault that you have been sacked? Is it the woman's fault that you did not plan your finances and now you're begging? Is it the woman's fault that you refuse to learn a trade or go to school, that you're turning your anger on her? It's not her fault. It is your fault. So you need to pick yourself up, dust yourself up, and go get a job. And then don't put your frustration on the woman. So what are the ways that we can work together to stop this sexual and gender-based violence that is rife in our country? We have to be champions of ourselves, women. And men, you also have to be our champions. You cannot continue to relegate us to the kitchen. The kitchen is not our office. The kitchen is not our birthright. It is just part of what we can do as women who multitask. Sure, we should cook and make sure the house is clean and give you your food. But that is not all we are about. We have brains just as you do. In fact, the saying goes that anything that a man can do, a woman can do better. And history has proven that phrase or that idiom very correct. Look at Angela Merkel. She just won 4th term as the Vice Chancellor of Germany. Does she have 2 heads? Is she not a woman, a wife, a mother? What are we talking about? So, women, empower yourself financially, educationally, and Be purposely and meaningfully engaged in one form of commerce or the other. If you have studied medicine and you decide you don't want to be a clinical practitioner, do something else. If you have studied law, you decide you don't want to do, practice law, do something else. A lot of us, people from my generation, went to study one or two things because their parents said, go and be a doctor, go and be a lawyer, go and be an engineer. But you want an engineer, but you want to do something else. Empower yourself financially. Empower yourself financially. Get a good job or start a business of your own. Be an entrepreneur. Don't sit at home and sleep. That is one of the reasons why a man would think you have become a liability and want to lay his hands on you. Young girls, when you go out there, go out in pairs. Go out in pairs and tell your parents where you're going. Do not be secretive so that you do not become the victims of abduction and sexual trafficking. Do not be so, ambitious that somebody invites you to Germany or to Europe and you just run away without asking questions, because they're going to put you into a life of perpetual sex slavery. What else do? We have to be sure to report any incidents of sexual and gender-based violence to the right authorities. Most times the authorities will even tell you, go home, it's a man and woman affair, go and settle. Or don't tell anybody that your daughter was raped or sexually assaulted so that you would not bring shame. Rubbish. Report it so that next time the person who has perpetrated it will not do it. I'm calling on the government of Nigeria to work with the United Nations and European Union when they do come here to begin to abolish this shameful trend that is on the increase in Nigeria. So, I may have been a bit harsh today, but I'm just passionate about sexual and gender-based violence, and I want it to end with automatic alacrity and immediate effect. So, until I come away tomorrow, remember that the best form of a healthy lifestyle is early detection. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.